Hi there, you're listening to Hillside Talks, a podcast for everyone. If you enjoy it, please tell your family and friends. If you don't, maybe try the next one. Hi everybody, welcome back to Hillside Talks. And today we've got Corinna joining us from the Mummy Circle. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about the work that you do. We have so many mummies as part of our daycare facilities, so I'm interested to find out about what you do. So we will start off if you'd like to tell us about the Mummy Circle and why you set it up.
Well, thank you very much for having me and asking me. It's a pleasure to come. I am a transformational coach, specialising in working with women who've had a traumatic birth. I also run the Mummy Circle, which is my in-person community, teaching baby massage and events and workshops and classes for mums and dads and families and babies. And I also run Connect Wakefield, which is a networking group for women who work for themselves, and I mentor other business owners.
That sounds a full job role that you've got
it's
going
never
on
dull,
there.
and I love it. Yeah.
So how did it come about? How did the Mummy Circle come about?
So I had my first baby 9.5 years ago, and I really struggled with new motherhood. It was not something that I was prepared for emotionally, or in any way, and I'd been working full-time kind of my whole life and everything was in control, and then suddenly I had this baby and my life kind of was out of control, and I found it really difficult. When I had my second baby, I was back at work again, struggling. Neither of them were good sleepers at all. And I happened to go to a baby massage class with my second baby, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought, this is something that I could do. And I was kind of not enjoying my teaching job anymore because...
So you were a teacher?
Yeah. So, you know, I was working way too many hours. I wasn't spending the time with my children that I wanted to, and the time that I was spending with them, I was burnt out. So I decided to quit my job. That summer I went and did my baby massage teacher training, and then in the September I started my first class. Wow. And then it's kind of all gone from there.
So it started with baby massage?
Yeah.
And why do you think that had such an impact on you? Did you both just love it and take so much away from it?
It wasn't even so much the massage, it was just the space that the facilitator had created, so that, you know, it was just a small group of mums and we all felt comfortable, and we were able to really connect with each other, and I felt less alone than I had done when I had my first baby on my maternity leave with her, despite the fact that I went to every club and class going. But I think with her, I was in a very kind of high state of anxiety a lot of the time. But second time round, I really loved that chance to sort of slow down and connect with him. And that was the only thing that I did on my maternity leave with him. And I just thought, what a lovely way to make a living, to support other mums, to slow down, to connect with their babies, and to help them meet other mums. Because when you've got that support of other mums, it is transformational.
I think you're so right. I think so many people listening will really, know exactly what you're saying there. I think so many, professional women that have got a career have the baby, and it's wow, it knocks them sideways of being in control.
It's a shock to the system.
And then all of a sudden they've got this baby and this tiny thing that literally blows your world apart. And it's sometimes really, really, really scary, isn't it? So and I suppose if you're not, I don't know, if you're a mum on your own where there's not other babies in the family, or you've not got any friends with the baby, it's a really lonely place. If there's a hubby, he might be back at work, you might be single with this baby, so it sounds like a really nice space that you've created for mums like that.
I mean, it's what I wish that I'd had when I was a new mum. Because what I'm trying to create is something that mums feel like they can come to in whatever state they're in, just completely come as they are.
No judgment.
Absolutely no judgment, and just feel supported and know that they're not alone, and know that there are other mums going through the same thing as them, because I think that just makes the whole experience of motherhood a lot easier to cope with in the challenging times, when you know that it's not just you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the bit you talked about, transformational, what's that bit?
So during lockdown I trained as a life coach. Because I wanted to add something extra to the service that I offer. So I'd already trained in birth trauma recovery 2018, because I was finding that a lot of mums coming to my classes had suffered with a really difficult birth, and I didn't know how to help them. I wanted to help them, but I didn't have the training or the skills to go to any deeper level than sort of empathising with them. Because I had, a difficult postnatal experience and a difficult pregnancy. So I could empathise with them, but I had no professional skills to help them. So I trained in 2018 in birth trauma recovery, 3-step rewind, which is a really powerful technique, and it's a short intervention. It's 3 sessions, and it helps to lift the symptoms of trauma from a difficult birth specifically. So I trained as a transformational life coach as well, to sort of add to those skills, because I was finding that people were feeling so much better after these 3 sessions, but then I felt like I don't have anything else to offer them. I want to be able to take them further, to help with limiting beliefs that they hold about themselves, because I think most of us, 99% of us, have all sorts of limiting beliefs about ourselves, and a lot of the time they were formed in childhood that we're completely unconscious of. So
do you delve into all that and explore that with people?
A lot of my work is healing inner child wounds. Which, again, sounds a little bit weird and a bit woo-woo. But actually, when people have experienced just one session, they come out of it and it's kind of a bit of a mind-blown moment. I had no idea that thing that happened when I was 5, and it doesn't have to have been a massive trauma, but it could have just been something that set off this belief in your mind about yourself or about the world around you that you've carried on into adulthood. And it's not necessarily something that's true, that's real, but your child's mind made sense of the world in that way, with lacking the emotional maturity to understand what was really happening at that time, and created this belief. So it's amazing when women kind of realise, it's not that I'm not good enough. It's not that people don't want to listen to me. These are all things that I've believed my whole life since I was a child, but this is not true.
How empowering.
And the shifts that can then make in their life, in their business going forward, it's amazing.
It sounds it. It really sounds it. Yeah. You talked about these first 3 sessions that people they've got such an impact from. What kind of things do you cover in those sessions?
So the birth trauma recovery is based on an NLP technique, a hypnosis technique, where the woman is watching the memory of the traumatic incident, the birth or the postnatal experience. She's watching it on a screen in her imagination, and then she's watching the film rewind. So it breaks the neural connections in the brain, so the neural pathways of where this trauma is kind of stored in the brain, the memories and the feelings attached to those memories become less intense from using this technique. And it makes a massive difference. I've had women who were too scared to even think about getting pregnant again, who have now gone on to have another baby, women who were terrified. And it's often when women are thinking about having another baby that they realise, I really haven't got over this first trauma. I haven't processed
and
it.
And kind of buried it and carried on, looking after baby and trying to get on.
Yeah.
But it's always been there with a hold over them, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? When you're a new mum, you're so busy.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like you've been run over by a bus often, and you're looking after this little human 24/7, and you don't have time to process what's happened to you and how you're feeling and your own emotions. So it's just taking that time to actually process what's happened and to lift those difficult negative sort of emotions that are attached to the memory often.
I think I'm just thinking about my mum. We often talk about, you know, when we were born, and my sister and I, and she often tells us that when we had babies, when you were born, they had to have like 2 weeks bed rest. They were in hospital for 2 full weeks. And you know, the nurses looked after the baby, and there was the maternity hospital where they went and stayed, and they really were recovered, and then they'd go home and they'd return home. And you know, usually mums didn't work, you know, they would stay at home with the baby. And now, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I had one of my babies, I was back the same day. I think I might have even put a load of washing in and picked up a couple of emails that night. Surely we're not giving ourselves enough time, are we? No. So it's so nice to hear that there's these classes and this work being done to unpick and encourage mums to be kind to themselves. We just do a lot, don't we, nowadays?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not our natural way of being to ever put ourselves first, to have that self-compassion, to actually show ourselves the love that we show to everybody else in our life, the amount of nurture and care that we give to our children, our partners, our family. We always put ourselves last, and it's such a counterproductive thing to do, because if we're not right, and I've definitely personally experienced this in the last couple of years during lockdown, it was difficult for me, and I knew I wasn't right, and I knew that because of that my children weren't right, you know, because children are energetically connected to us. Absolutely. Like they are still part of us, and they can feel when we're not right, and so we owe it to them to make sure that we are as well emotionally and mentally and physically as we possibly can be. Definitely. So, that's so interesting. How many mummies come to your groups? And it's the mummy circle, but dads are welcome too. So I do special classes where dads are welcome. So I do family classes sometimes at the weekends or evenings. So we just had a bedtime baby massage class last weekend, which was lovely. But generally it's just for mums, because in the early days I want mums who are maybe feeling a little bit anxious about being out of the house. I want them to feel completely comfortable, so I don't want them to worry about breastfeeding if there's men there and they might not feel comfortable. So I just have the classes open to mums for the early days, but I run classes for slightly older babies, and that's kind of open to dads, grannies, whichever caregiver wants to come along.
It sounds so nice. And I've looked on your Instagram account, and you do like a swap shop thing in your parent hub. Tell us about that and what that looks like.
So it was my 9.5-year-old daughter actually who suggested it.
Amazing.
And she said, all these mummies who've got all their babies' clothes that they've grown out of, why don't you do a swap shop where they just bring them along and then leave them for another mum to take, and then they can take the next size up. And I thought, this is genius. Why have I not thought of this? Because it's so obvious.
It's so popular.
Yeah, and it's, you know, keeping on top of your baby's clothes when they've grown out of them is pretty much a full-time job, especially if you've got more than one child. So I do a regular monthly coffee morning now, where anyone can come along, pay a $5, tea and biscuits, and then whatever you want from the swap shop, just take it.
Wow. So and where can they find you? Where can mums find you?
So in physical terms, my hub is in Flanshaw in Wakefield.
Right.
In virtual terms, I am on Instagram, The Mummy Circle.
The Mummy Circle.
I'm on Facebook. You can find me on my website. If you type in The Mummy Circle, you will find me. And then my coaching page is Corinna Nicol Coaching, so you can find me there as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I just feel this lends itself so well to the current climate. So many mums are struggling. It feels such a lot. Life is hard.
Yeah.
You know, so to find a place that's very calm and kind and welcoming when you feel a little bit out of your depth.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a really lovely place. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Look the mummy circle up, guys. Okay, thank you, and we'll see you next time.